No price talk and no Lambos. This is not another crypto podcast. Welcome to Ignition. I'm your host, Jillian, and each week we will be looking at the problems solved by blockchain. I'll be going deep with the people building the apps and communities which are changing the world around us. Well, hello, and welcome to Ignition, the podcast from EOS Dublin. My name is Jillian Gotzel. I'm delighted to be here again with a very interesting man who is very chilled, I think, very laid back. And we're going to be talking with Rohan Abraham from EOS Authority in the UK. Welcome to the show, Rohan.
Hey, thank you so much, Jillian, for having me. Yeah, looking forward to our talk
cool.
today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I just want to get some things out of the way. You're from India. You have a twin, Roshan. Your parents obviously decided to name you very closely together. I thought that was confusing for teachers. Not only did you look alike, and then you sound alike as well. Which is cool. But you've been working together in London for about 12 years, both of you together.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. So Roshan and I set up a consulting company in London, and we've been doing that for the last 10, 12 years. Things have been going pretty well there. We have clients ranging from large Fortune 500 companies all the way to smaller startups. And we've been really interested in the blockchain space. We've been watching it, but not having done much.
Mm-hmm.
And then the EOS white paper came out, and it had amazing, back in the day when the white paper came out, talking about things like free transactions and fast transactions were all pretty new. It's nothing's been done at that scale before.
Mm-hmm.
So the EOS paper definitely stood out, and we were very interested in EOS. And we started building a lot of these open source free tools for people to actually check their registration and so on. And
yeah, you had some amazing tools like that one for checking the registration. That proved to be hugely popular, didn't it?
Exactly. I think that's what started our entire campaign. So when we built this tool, Roshan, he was on all the Telegram groups, and he used to keep saying this one major pain point with everybody. Everybody was really worried if they got their registration correctly. Will my EOS carry through to the mainnet correctly and all of that? That was the biggest question. So he built a completely open source system which actually scans the Ethereum blockchain and does all of the work. So all that people had to do was enter their Ethereum address, and it would tell them immediately if the registration was correct, if they had to do anything, and all of that. So once this was out there, a lot of people were using it. We've had visits from Korea, all over the world. And just before launch, there were about 1 million people on the website, 1 million page views on the website. So it was pretty popular. And it was one of the only websites which did it at this scale. It gave you the account name, your balance, and all of that. And I think that was one of the reasons that we were voted in. People knew us, people found it really valuable. And we were voted in as a block producer right from the launch of the EOS platform. And we've been right at the top 21 since.
That's amazing. Well, Sharif did say, he said, every time himself and Sam sit down to try and think of a new project or a tool, you guys have done it already. You're ahead of the game. So that was a smart thing. And you were clever. You listened to what people wanted. You listened to the community and you said, let's help them out. But you also helped too with the hacking issue. Tell me a bit about that. That's like a mad thing, but you spotted the flaw. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that is the hacking issue that you're talking about is a $10 million hack scenario that we spotted. This is just before the launch of the EOS mainnet. And this was the first time we spoke to Dan Larimer. We had to raise it with him. We had a Zoom call. It was about 1 a.m. his time and 5 a.m. in London. And we spoke to him. We managed to resolve the issue in 24 hours. And that was also something that stood out really. And that was pretty big. We've had a lot of people contact us immediately after that.
Is that in arbitration still, the argument over who owns it, or is it coming through the far end, or where is it at?
So that was interesting. So we managed to fix it properly. We managed to find that those people who registered the tokens, about $10 million at that point, we managed to cancel all the registrations and then switch them to use fallback. So that was timely. So all those users could just use fallback and they didn't have to go through arbitration.
Oh, I didn't know. That's even better. That's fantastic. So are you
Yeah.
and Dan chatting all the time now? Are you good friends?
I wish so, but I think he's pretty busy at Block
Yes.
One. The first
Mm.
time I met him was in London for the hackathon, and that's when we met. We spoke for a while. He was very keen to show us this mobile wallet, which Block One's been building for a while, and he was pretty friendly, and he was there standing for hours. He was talking to everybody there, so it's pretty open and friendly.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So now the reason why we're actually chatting today now is, I mean, those are fantastic. You're in the top 21. Congratulations on that. That's amazing. But you've got a new project, and this is an amazing project. It's about offsetting carbon footprints. Tell me where you got the idea from.
Yes. So again, This idea started with Roshan again. He was a person who looked at EOS and he said, EOS is pretty efficient, but there is a small little footprint. What if we could offset that? We could actually call ourselves, the world's first blockchain, which actually is carbon neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the idea started. And I think it's pretty powerful. And that's where the idea really started. But we have another co-founder. His name is Alex, and he's been looking at carbon credits and markets before in his previous job. So he was pretty interested in working. I mean, he set out how to do it properly. So he brought up the idea of talking to big organizations like Climate Care, Gold Standard, and which I'll go into in more detail. But I think
Mm-hmm.
those two things came out. The idea came with Roshan, and then over the next 2 months, it took us to flush everything out, and then yeah,
It's amazing.
launch.
And to give some context, on your website, you have if Bitcoin is 100% in terms of energy generation, Ethereum is 26%, and the EOS, their CO2 emissions, it's only 0.01%. But you're saying, let's even get rid of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's correct. Bitcoin is pretty energy intensive.
Mm.
You might not know this, but mining $1 worth of gold is more expensive than mining $1 worth of Bitcoin, which means that mining gold and copper and all of those rare earth metals are actually, you get $1 worth of those metals from the ground than getting $1 of Bitcoin. So that gives you a feel of how energy intense all these operations are.
Yes.
It's clearly not sustainable. Like it's compared to like a million transatlantic flights every year and so on.
It is scary. And so Alex, who is involved with the carbon footprint and the offsetting of it, how did you then go out? So you calculated the amount of energy, the CO2 emissions that the EOS, actually, did you do it with each block producer, or did you do it with the whole network?
So initially we worked out quickly, like on a piece of paper, just worked out quickly with just between us to get a rough idea of what the numbers will be. And we weren't sure if the numbers are right. This was in September this year. And then as soon as we did that and the numbers were looking okay, we wanted them verified. We then worked with Climate Care, who actually we gave them all our numbers to. We spoke to a few other block producers, asking them what their energy usage was and so on. And then once we did that, we then were able to figure out what the location of each of the block producers were, give all this data to Climate Care, who then put this together, who actually finalized all the calculations, and then they came up with a number. They worked it out to about 562 tons of carbon dioxide, CO2 every year. Yeah.
Is that for the whole? That's the whole blockchain.
The whole EOS blockchain. Yes.
Okay. And then you've approached the different block producers to see if they would agree to purchase credits to offset their emissions. How many block producers have come on board so far?
Okay, so about it was Friday last week, so it was about 6-7 days ago that we were in Oslo, and we had a BP summit there. We had a few people, we had a lot of block producers on EOS attend that conference, and we decided to do a quick launch there. We presented our idea. We told them exactly what I told you just now, that Bitcoin is pretty energy intensive. Our EOS is a third generation blockchain which uses delegated proof of stake. It actually, 562 tons of carbon dioxide. We can actually offset it if we all work together. We presented about today is Thursday. We presented around Friday last week. And we've had a pretty good response. We've had about 34 block producers join the initiative as of today, as of
Brilliant.
right now.
Brilliant. That
And
is fabulous.
exactly. So, which is pretty amazing. The reception and the response was pretty good. So we have quite a few people signed up, and there are a few block producers who have pledged to join as well. And I think it's Thanksgiving and things in the US, and we have a few holidays and so on.
Of course,
Uh,
Thanksgiving,
we
yeah.
we wanted this to we put a deadline in there of 30th of November, and if things go well, we can go ahead and announce on December 1st that we are one of the world's first carbon neutral blockchain. I said one of the first because I'm not aware of any other
hmm
blockchains that do this. I would expect we are the first.
Wow,
Yeah.
that'll be amazing. And of course, EOS Dublin have signed up, of course. Ta-da! They were
Yeah, yes,
very
yes.
keen.
They're one of the first to do so. They're very encouraging. EOS Dublin, the
They're
team
brilliant.
was in. Yeah, they were brilliant. They were in Oslo too, and it was
Yes.
pretty. Yeah, it was very encouraging. Like when you present an idea and they're like, "Yep, we are on board." They're one of the first to do it, and right at the same day. And I remember Sharif, and they were like, "Hey, we're already green," as in our logo is already green.
Of course, yes, yeah. That's mad. So tell me a bit about the you mentioned earlier, say about climate care and the gold standard. What is climate care? Is that a charity? Is it an NGO or what is it?
Yeah, Climate Care, they don't call themselves a charity. They work with corporate and government partners. Their aim really is to work on climate care and development programs really.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pretty good. Their main job was to two things really: help us work out the numbers, make sure that our calculations are correct, and we've supplied them with all the information to do that. And that was the first part. And the second thing they would do is to actually offset our carbon footprint of the entire EOS network. So how they would do this is they have a few projects around the world, and all of them are listed on our website as well. A few of them are listed on our website. So basically, as block producers, we run the US network. By virtue of doing that, we consume a lot of electricity, and a lot of the electricity obviously produces carbon to actually generate that electricity. To offset what's produced, what they do is they have projects based in China, in Africa, and so on. So it's a mix of a charity project, but the aim really is to offset carbon. I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you an example. So, for example, in Ghana, they have an initiative where they replace their cooking stoves with more efficient ones. So where you would have people with smoky fumes and so on, where they would burn wood or something like that to actually cook food. They would have more efficient cook stoves, maybe gas based and so on. It's good for their health. It's good for people and so on. I think so. We actually take part in all those projects. The payment that goes out to offset all the carbon footprint goes to the climate care, and then climate care would donate to all of those projects essentially. And that's how we offset our, yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Carbon.
would say I was on your website and looking at some amazing projects. There's the one that jumped out at me in Kenya, where people would normally boil water to make it drinkable, and they're using life straw and they're using filters, and they're all done by gravity fed stuff, so that they take no power. They're not burning stuff. You're not, it's how simple it is. And there's people, I don't know, there's people that are affected, like it's millions of people that are affected positively by just putting in the filters as opposed to making them, I say, boil the water. So it's amazing to think that a very simple change can produce a huge positive benefit for people, not only in cost and their health, and of course for the whole world, which is kind of impressive. And they're all over there in India and China and Ghana and Kenya. So it's very exciting. And so when they offset your carbon footprint, do you pay the money into these projects? Is that how you support it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, yes. So we collect payments. So all the payments from all the block producers, they go into one account, and then we
Mm-hmm.
would then release that payment as a lump sum to climate care, who would then in turn donate to these projects. And these projects are a pretty large scale. So the Live Straw project is pretty large scale. The idea is to like have thousands of people affected. So our contribution would form a part of that initiative really, and
Mm-hmm.
they work with lots of other companies. So it's good to have work with projects that have big impact on these areas.
Yes. And it's nice too as well, because I say, please goodness, now on the 1st of December, you'll be able to make that announcement that it's the world's first major carbon neutral blockchain. But also it'll be recurring income for climate care. Because once people have said, yes, going to do it, they're unlikely to turn around and say, well, actually, no, we've changed our minds. We don't want to save the world anymore. So you're actually generating a legacy impact that'll go forward. Whatever happens to you guys, I'm not saying you'll hopefully be there for a long time, but it's quite nice to think that they're unlikely to unsubscribe to their commitment to the climate change.
That's a very good point. You were actually thinking long term, more sustainable. No, that's pretty good. So I would expect that. And also this year, we've reached out to the block producers and asked them to offset their own footprint. Probably we could actually make a worker proposal, or like the network could decide to do this the next year or something like that, instead of asking the block producers. Also, I've been reaching out to, so this is what we do here and now, makes EOS carbon neutral, which is nice. We also have dApps that work on top of it. So I've been contacting the dApps and the developers who actually build the dApps, and telling them that this component is now carbon neutral. Why don't they look at making their dApps carbon neutral too, so they could actually say we are a completely carbon neutral app.
So it's like a penny dropping in a pond. The ripples will spread out.
Yeah, now hopefully it's nice. But at the end of the day, like, we are supporting projects that make a big difference in people's lives around the world, really. So I think that'll be pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it is nice too as well, because obviously one of the biggest criticisms leveled at the Bitcoin blockchain is its intensive energy use, and we know that. So it's very nice to have EOS not only offering free transactions and speed, and then saying, do you know what, we're carbon neutral as well. That is so cool.
Wow. Exactly. That's why we are the fastest blockchains. We do more transactions. We're also free and all of that, and we are carbon neutral, which will be pretty good. There are sorry, yes, guys.
No. I was going to say, I think it's very important going forward. And I know I have children. I don't know if you have children or not, but I want this planet to survive. So anything that's going to advance the planet, my generation and the generation before did a lot of damage to this planet. It's nice to maybe reverse some of that.
No. Hopefully we do with projects like this. Yeah, and it'll be pretty interesting to see how it goes. But the reception so far is pretty impressive. We're nearly at the halfway mark, and in terms of block producers who've come forward and contributed. We've also had block producers who've come forward and said, if you don't get enough contributions, we are happy to pitch in and cover the...
That's impressive. So let's just say maybe a block producer is busy. We're not saying we're not going to attribute bad thoughts to them or anything like that, or bad sort of no sort of malicious thinking behind it. But perhaps, I know they're busy. They're crazy, whatever, and they can't do it. And then so the other block producers might come in, so you can still announce it on the 1st of December, even if everybody hasn't come back to you.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Wow. So that is community. Amazing. That's community, isn't it?
That's pretty encouraging. So when I was up there, gave this talk and came down, it was very encouraging to have people from EOS Dublin, and then other people say, yep, we will contribute if others don't, and things like that. So it feels like we might just reach our target.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's amazing. So what next then? you seem to have cornered the market on clever ideas and things that people want, and things that make people feel good about themselves and about the community. What is Rohan doing now? Who's he talking to? What ideas is he brewing up? Do you have anything in the pipeline?
Yeah, we have quite a few ideas. We have an idea board, and then it's filled with so many ideas that we come up with. We spend all the time thinking about EOS.
You dream about EOS.
I'm sure Rohan does.
I think he must do, with all these ideas he's coming up with.
Yes, but I think it'll be nice. So we have ideas like this, and then what's also interesting is, over time, what started with an idea from helping people out with their registration. In the beginning, we didn't even think of being a block producer. All we wanted to do was help people sort out their registration. And when we saw this massive traffic, and when this opportunity came out to be a block producer, we then decided to be a block producer. So EOS Authority was supposed to be this tool where you actually check if your registration was successful, and that's it. What then happened was this block producer thing came up, and then to help people, we set up a Telegram group. Mm-hmm. We have over 3,000 people in that Telegram group, and then people keep coming.
You have 3,001. I just joined.
Oh, thank you. And people join that group and then they tell us, hey, what if we did this? It would be better. What if we did that? That would make things better. So we now get a lot of ideas from the community as well.
Ah, that's clever. That's very clever, actually. And you said, I mean, the reason why you proved so popular in the beginning is that you listened to the current problem that was facing people with the registrations. That's very, very clever. So tell me, what about, in terms of like the whole blockchain environment, I mean, are you confident that EOS is going to be there for the long haul?
Yeah, so it's all, I mean, the question in another way is the community going to be around for the long run?
Yes, yeah.
And the community, there are two, three things the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
There is the whole DApp ecosystem. Will dApps want to build on EOS? That's one part. The other part is like, will people see the benefits of EOS and it being decentralized and things like that? So those are the two things that have to come together. In terms of apps, the adoption has been pretty impressive. We have new accounts being created every day. We have about 500,000 accounts as of last week. So this is up from 160,000 accounts in June. So over the span of a few months, we now have 500,000 accounts. So that's a pretty significant growth in the number of users.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of dApps, obviously. EOS today has the most number of transactions, and these are like actual transactions on all kinds of apps, actual token transfers, people playing on a lot of gambling apps that we have now.
Yes,
So
I suppose it's the forerunner, isn't it? I suppose with new technologies.
yes, yeah, exactly. I think that those are the first apps that come in before. Yeah, but I think it's been pretty impressive. I think the dApp side is pretty strong. Dan Larimer keeps saying that Bitcoin is different, but all chains like EOS and Ethereum have to prove that they are pretty good with dApps. I think that'll be a pretty important.
Mm. And tell me, how important is London being based? You're from India originally, but how important do you think is a block producer or being in London? How important is that to you?
The UK has been pretty open in terms of mining and all of that. The mining regulations and the rules were pretty clear, and they were set from 2014 and so on. So all of the rules around BAT and all of that is pretty clear. The only downside is banks are a bit reluctant to work with businesses that work on blockchain and so on. But I think once we explain it to them, it might be better. But besides that, it's been pretty good. So London's been, we have access to a lot of talent here. There are people who are happy to work on the technical side as well. So all of that's
Mm-hmm.
been good. And then Europe's been pretty impressive. There are also other European countries which appear to be more blockchain friendly. And for example, Malta calls themselves the blockchain island.
Yes,
And,
yeah.
yeah.
And how do you think Brexit is going to impact on you? Will it have an impact or?
This business is the block production business as such is global business and so on. So I wouldn't think the Brexit impact would be direct.
Do you know you're
Also,
the first industry that I've heard say that? I'm very pleased for you because every other industry is going, oh my God, there'll be no sandwiches in the UK, and because they can't get in their special, whatever their, I don't know,
yeah,
mozzarella, whatever they need to bring in, they'll be back to ham sandwiches.
yeah. No, yeah, that's a good point. So here we don't import anything. It's all cloud based, and it's right there. There's little or no regulation.
That's true.
And yeah, and again with block production, you don't really take money from the people and such. You're not providing a financial service. It's essentially running a hosting service.
Now, I say you're the first company now that I've spoken to or project who has said that Brexit is not going to affect them. Well, and I'm very pleased for you. You're an exception. So, one last question I'm going to ask you then, Rohan, has been very interesting. I love the green things, and Sharif is definitely right. You definitely think of things that people want. And that's always a very good thing to do, rather than just creating nice to have. You have things that actually want these projects. What advice would you give to anybody to come up with ideas for the EOS platform?
Yeah, so I'll tell you how we come up with ideas. So this might also be relevant for anyone who is looking at a community-based project. We have two rules. We come up with so many ideas. There is a pre-filter that we apply. Firstly, we need to launch in about 6 weeks or 8 weeks, something that we can actually launch quickly. And but it shouldn't be like a day or two or something like that. It should be meaningful enough so that we can do something meaningful in 6 to 8 weeks. So I'll give an example. So if we were to like build something that takes a year or 6 months, that's too long for us. And that's not something that's pretty large scale. There are so many low hanging fruits that we can bring to the community immediately. This project is a couple of months along with other things that are going on. That's the main thing that we think
Speed.
about. Something that we
Yeah.
can, yeah,
It's meaningful and timely.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, listen, I have to say, I'm very much fascinated by our talk today. Especially, I love the carbon footprint. I love the projects that you're doing, and I love the fact that you're actually doing a very good job because you're making all the block producers get even more into the community again. You're like glue. You're doing a very
Yes.
good job. Yeah, that's
Oh,
cool.
thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm looking forward to the 1st of December. I want to share that news that EOS is the world's first major carbon neutral blockchain.
That'll be wonderful. That'll be an amazing milestone. And we want to do it together. We want to do it with everyone contributing,
Yes.
offsetting their own footprint. That'll be amazing. At least if we can get 60 or 70% of the block producers together, that'll be amazing. And then, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool. So tell me, if people want to go and find out more about this, what is the website they should go to?
Thank you. If you go to eosauthority.com/green, and that's our page. So
and your Telegram?
eosauthority.com/green. And our Telegram is at EOS Authority, all one word.
Excellent. Okay, and I'll go and say hello to everybody in there now. Well, so thank you so much for your time, Rohan, and I very much look forward to the 1st of December and the news that EOS has become the world's first major carbon neutral blockchain.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. It was amazing talking to you. Thanks. Bye.